Top Thrill 2 was supposed to be the more reliable, cost-effective answer to its predecessor, Top Thrill Dragster, that was plagued with huge maintenance costs and loads of downtime since it opened back in 2003. But did the team of Zamperla and Cedar Point fix those issues? We're going to find out in this video here today. But first, before we get into that, we'd like to thank everyone for coming and joining us. And we'd like to remind you that the 3 best ways to support this channel is by liking this video, commenting, and subbing if you have not already. And we'd also like to remind everyone that we do have a channel membership. You can go down in the description and there's a link to a couple different tiers that you can choose from. And with that channel membership, you get things like exclusive videos, pictures, shout outs like you see on the screen right here.
All these great people are channel members.
And it helps out our channel a ton. But now let's get straight in this video. If you want an answer, did Zamperla and Cedar Point succeed in fixing those issues? The answer is yes and no. Well, you might be wondering, how could the answer be yes and no? Well, Top Thrill 2 has been open for a couple weeks now, and we've seen a couple different weather conditions. On Twitter, Coaster Spot, credit for this video here, showed Top Thrill 2 having a lot of issues getting over the top hat. This was something that Top Thrill Dragster frequently had issues with the old hydraulic launch. It would have loads of rollbacks. I mean, I think in 2018 or 19, I think we sat in line waiting for it.
Yeah, we sat in line for opening day or whatever and had, I think, 14 rollbacks just in like 2 hours.
So before that Thursday where that video was taken, when Top Thrill 2 had tons of rollbacks and was having like what looked like it could actually stall on the top of the top hat a couple different times, it was flying over the top hat. We rode it a few times and you got like ejector going over the top hat. It was going so fast. So social media did what social media does, and it created a bunch of, I guess, conspiracy theories or whatever. People started saying, okay, I think maybe Top Thrill 2 started lowering maybe the launch speed or whatever, and it wasn't actually getting up to 120 miles per hour anymore. And people started thinking all sorts of things. But the most like common sense thing was the fact that it was windy and kind of cooler that day. Cold temperatures do create denser air, and it makes it like more friction, and so whenever a launch coaster tries to go through, it does meet more resistance.
Yeah, I mean, any roller coaster, if you ride it in a colder day versus a warmer day, it will go slower in that colder day.
Luckily enough, the day after that Thursday, May 9th, we went out to the park on Friday, May 10th, and it was a nice, pleasant, low 60s day, sunny, like the perfect temperature. And we rode it, I think, 9 times that day.
Yeah,
and I don't think, and we watched it many other times, and I don't think that thing had one issue going over that top hat.
No, it never went slow. It just flew over like it did earlier.
So I think that totally disproved the notion that Zamperla and Cedar Point slowed down the third launch that got you up to 120 miles per hour. So that kind of leaves the fact that there's an issue with weather. Now, okay, rides do have issues with weather. Every roller coaster, if it's extremely windy, it can end up valleying and things close down because of rain and thunder and all that. So that's just a fact of the roller coaster and amusement park industry.
Yeah.
So why is this a big deal? Well, the reason that this is a big deal is because Thursday, while it wasn't ideal temperatures and ideal wind situations, it was far from terrible. Cedar Point is on a peninsula out in Lake Erie, so winds are something that's going to happen out at Cedar Point. They happen. The old Top Thrill Dragster could run up to 38 mile per hour winds. Now, granted, winds down whenever you're on the ground at 38 miles per hour will be obviously very strong, but then whenever you're 400 feet in the air where the top hat is for Top Thrill Dragster and Top Thrill 2, then obviously the wind is a lot stronger because it doesn't meet the resistance of buildings and stuff like that. But the times that we've been out at Cedar Point and seen Top Thrill Dragster close because of like windy conditions was actually pretty rare. But unfortunately, it looks like Top Thrill 2 with the much lighter lightning trains that were produced by Zamperla, which Zamperla talked about in some promotional videos about how light the trains are.
So actually most roller coasters have steel chassis. This is all billet and aluminum, one piece, no welds. It doesn't only make the train lighter, it has a lower cost of ownership.
That was actually like a good thing, a selling feature
Yeah.
for those trains. That might actually come back and bite them, because it looks like that this ride will be a lot more susceptible to any sort of wind and any sort of bad conditions. And the issue with that is the fact that all through May, when Cedar Point opens, and the later part of the year through September and October, can get a little bit chilly and can get windy. So you're looking at some time in the operating schedule of Cedar Point where Top Thrill 2 might have issues staying open.
Mm-hmm.
Now, back to where I said that yes and no was the answer. I guess you could say that yes, they fixed the issue where it's not going to have as much maintenance for Cedar Point, because a lot of the downtime for Top Thrill 2, at least in the early part of the season, seemed to have been pretty quick.
Yeah, every time we've seen Top Thrill 2 close down, it closed down from anywhere from like 5 minutes and then occasionally like 45 minutes, but really not an extensive period of time, not like half the day or most of the day or anything like that.
Which, if you ever went to Cedar Point and tried to ride Top Thrill Dragster,
that happened all the time. There were so many days where Top Thrill Dragster would be closed like 95% of the day or 90% of the day, and very few people got to ride it.
Top Thrill 2 seems to not have any of those issues. One of the big things is that Top Thrill Dragster was a hydraulic launch and Top Thrill 2 is an LSM launch, and those are much more reliable than the hydraulic launch. So just fixing that alone makes it a much more reliable ride. But this weather condition thing is something that we really need to look at. Today, as we're filming this, is Saturday, May 11th, and Top Thrill 2 has been announced that it's down all day today, and there is even some talk that some associates said that it's supposed to be down tomorrow, Sunday, May 12th, as well. I don't know if that would be the first maintenance issue where it's down for an extended period of time because of maintenance.
Yeah, but it also just so happens that the weather of both these days are really bad. Like today was very, very rainy, and tomorrow is supposed to be not that good either, and windy and all that.
So could it be that Cedar Point is saying, okay, the weather isn't going to be that great, and the last time that we tried to open it on a day that it wasn't ideal weather conditions, maybe like it was down a bunch of that day and they had all the rollback issues, so are they just preemptively closing it? Are they working on an issue to maybe fix the issues with the weather?
It's just weird because, I mean, there's bad weather. Like, say, Tuesday, it's supposed to have lots of rain and wind. Cedar Point isn't going to close all their rides, in advance. Be like, oh, all of the rides are shutting down tomorrow. It's like, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, weather delays happen on the spot. It's not
like, oh,
it's never a
tomorrow
preemptive thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is definitely something to keep an eye out for the rest of the year. Will Top Thrill 2 be down anytime that there's any sort of breeze on the peninsula there at Lake Erie? Is it something that maybe they, like I said earlier, maybe they are trying to fix and update something, maybe with the LSM launch system? Because there is some theory that these LSMs do not exceed 120 miles per hour. The old hydraulic launch system, what it did is whenever it launched, it would take like a reading of like wind and stuff like that, and then it would adjust its speed the next time. So it may launch at like a higher velocity one time and then realize that it needs to be even a higher velocity the very next launch because of wind conditions. So there's some thoughts that the LSMs are not doing that it's just straight 120 miles per hour. And if there's wind or any sort of conditions that can get in that way, then obviously there's no adjusting or anything like that. So could this be something where they're closing it down for a couple days in order to adjust that and just adjust the computer systems to maybe make it so it will adjust speed and take wind and weather for the day into consideration? We have no idea. It's something that we'll have to keep an eye on later in the year as we have nicer days. Is it consistently open? On some windier and some not so nice days, is it consistently closed? It's something that we're going to have to look to see if there's a pattern and find out exactly what's going on from that pattern. But we figured we would just let everyone know about this possibility. If you're planning a trip to Cedar Point, You may really want to check out the weather, especially if you're coming from a long distance. Keep an eye on that weather, and if there's anything like cold and windy or anything that day, then if Top Thrill 2 is a priority for you to ride, you might want to consider delaying the trip or going at another time or something like that.
Yeah, so the Top Thrill 2 might be a more reliable coaster as far as maintenance-wise, but it might be less reliable for weather conditions. Like weather conditions might be more prone to shut down for wind than Top Thrill Dragster was.
So that's it for this video. Let us know down in the comments what you think the issue could be. Is it weather? Is it mechanical?
I mean, Top Thrill 2 just opened like a couple weeks ago or whatever, so it's still very early, so obviously gonna have to keep watching it and see what happens as the years go on and the months go on and all that.
Definitely, without question. This is very early in its life, and so that's why this is all just speculation at this moment. So thank you guys for watching. Always appreciate you guys taking your time out to watch our videos. So that is it for this. Thank you for watching. See you guys next time right here on Beach Cliff Studios.